Good morning, everybody. This is Richard back at you. We got Miss Teresa on the camera this morning. Annie hanging out in the house. Couldn't get her to come out. But hey, we got Larry's '05 Chevrolet in the house. Four-wheel drive. Having high pressure, line pressure problems. Harsh shifting, erratic shifting, all kinds of crazy stuff. Now, this is a 6.0 motor, but it was a 5.3, so they've done a swap to it from a 6.0 from a 5.3. A lot more power, definitely, for sure, the 6.0 in it. But they was traveling, got stuck on the side of the road, had to get a transmission from an auto parts store. Not going to say which auto parts store, but it's got 400 miles on it, and it doesn't work right at all. There's no codes or anything like that. But it definitely shifts very, very hard. You don't even want it to shift. You want to go for a ride, Teresa, and let me show you?
No, thank you.
I mean, this thing, it will knock your teeth out. But being a 6.0 swap, I don't think there's any issues there. Like I said, there's no codes or anything for the tranny to be acting this way. I put a pressure gauge on it. The pressure's just all over the place. But if you watch the scanner, the computer's not commanding it to do it. So I don't know if we got boost valve problems. I don't know what we got until we take it apart, because like I said, you never know when you buy a unit from a parts store physically what they put in this unit. You just don't know. So, but we're going to find out, ain't we, Teresa?
Yeah.
We're definitely going to find out. We're going to put it on the autopsy table, and we're going to autopsy it and find out what's wrong with this thing. So we're really excited. We got a new member of the family. Check this out, guys. We finally got us a little Yamaha golf cart. We're really excited about that to push the Dirty Bird around. Got our sponsor, number one sponsor, Sonex, all over it. We got O'Reilly's on it too. O'Reilly's helps us out a bunch, but we want to thank Greg and them over at Sonex for really helping us out on the Dirty Bird. So we want to show everybody that. But anyway, we'll get this unit out real quick. I say real quick, but it's a lot of labor.
Yeah.
But definitely I enjoy doing what I do. So, but anyway, we'll be back here with a teardown video shortly. Grab you a cup of coffee and hang on, we'll be right back. Okay, everybody, we got Larry's 4L60E transmission out of his Chevy pickup, 2005. Now, you remember, this had a 5.3 in it. They did a 6.0 swap to a 2006 model 6.0, okay? Now, this vehicle coming in with high pressure problems in the transmission, harsh shifting, no codes, high pressure. We stuck a pressure gauge to it, and we got pressure all over the place. But when you hook the scanner to it, our amperage drop for our pressure control solenoid is working fine, but our transmission pressure is just all over the place. We want to thank Miss Teresa for recording. We got Miss Annie hanging out as always, just so beautiful. And of course, Miss Teresa's beautiful too.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, let's get this thing apart real quick. There's a story on this unit here. This transmission was installed when he was out on the road, broke down. He had no other place to go, so he went to an auto parts store to buy a transmission. That's all he had. There was no tranny shops around or anything like that. Now, I'm thinking I'm not sure exactly how long it took him to get it to him, or if he got a motel room or whatever. But anyway, anytime you buy a transmission from an auto parts store, a business or anything like that, it's physically going to be painted one solid color. It's not going to have Joey's name on it, who built it. I've never seen a name on a transmission that comes from an auto parts store or the dealer or anything like that with Joey's name on it. Now, transmission shop, yes, I did it all the time when I was in town. I'd always put my name on it, the date, and even how many million units that I've built on there. Huh, Teresa? We'd write our number on there. But you don't see it from an auto parts store. Now, we did stick a pressure gauge on it. You can see right here, this is your pressure port. We can monitor pressure. We have our scanner in one hand. We have our pressure gauge in the other hand. We're watching amperage drop, amperage rise, all that type of stuff to control pressure. Your mass airflow sensor controls pressure. When it sees air drop, it means it's accepting more load, so we're going to raise the pressure in the tranny. But we're going to take this apart and see physically what we got going on here. So this is a new one for me here. It's going to be look for a bad pump, bad boost valve. There's no telling. Like I said, normally we would have went into more in depth in this, trying to figure it out. But I mean, I could chase worms all day long inside the vehicle, where I'd rather just pull it out, take it apart, and just go through it our way. The gentleman tows a trailer, and I doubt there's anything performance in this unit at all. Of course, we have our B&I converter, which these guys are really good. We use Sonex, we use B&I. We've been using B&I for 40, 50 years, I believe. That's how long this company's been in business. So he did have a good converter in here. The converter's not causing any type of high pressure or anything like that. Now, there was a little bit of trash in the pan, not much, but I mean, you can see where there's been rust on the input shaft right here, pitting right here, like this thing's been outside, or maybe it was a core, you know, that they built or something like that. Of course, we have our four-wheel drive adapter to our transfer case. Have our shift linkage. Want to be gentle, don't want to bend it and break it. But like I said, on these here, a lot of times these are really flared really bad from tightening this nut down too much, and it flares it out right here, and this doesn't want to come off, the neutral safety switch. So you got to kind of go around it, file the burrs off. And of course, you're going to put it right back on. When you put it back on, this is an oblong hole, so you have to line it up, and then just put it back to exactly where the bolts were. And that comes off real easy. A lot of times with a burr, and you'll break it here, and then you have to buy a new one of these. But you can see the markings of the bolts. Just slide it back on, tighten it down, and back in the exact same markings. You can, even the cooler line connectors, I mean, they're just so rusted and nasty looking. You have your dipstick boot. Now on this one here, it wouldn't have a Corvette servo in it, but if we would have built it, we'd have definitely put a Corvette servo in here, because this gentleman does pull a trailer. So we're going to be attacking that area for sure. That way we know that we get good clamping on the band. Which is factory fourth gear servo, cover and piston. You can see a little bit of wear right here where it's been pushing on this really hard right there. But it does just have a stock servo cover, or servo, excuse me. If you look at a Corvette servo, you can see the difference in the two. Night and day difference. Going to get a lot more clamping on the band. Want to look in here for any scarring or anything like that, Scotch-Brite that stuff up. Now there is a check ball down in here, in this little tube right here. You want to make sure that check ball is free. If that check ball is stuck, you're going to burn third gear up. Because your third gear oil actually pushes your band off. Your third gear oil going to your band is actually your accumulator, because this tranny does not have a third gear accumulator. The third gear oil comes out, goes to the third gear, and comes over here to the servo and pushes your band off. Not like that. Sound like your trash people here, Teresa.
Well, yay.
Of course, everybody knows how bad these drain plugs are to get out. The head on this drain plug right here is just too short. It's too soft. It needed to be that long, that way you could grab it, because they all strip out. The only way you're going to get this out now, since it's that way, you're going to have to weld a bolt to it, or a nut to it, excuse me, and get it out. But we do have a new one here. Of course, it's still got the little short, junky little end on it right there. They all strip out. I think GM put Loctite on that just so it would strip out or something. I don't understand it. Like I say, not a whole lot in the pan. A little bit on the magnet, pretty thick, but nothing really in the pan. course, you can see this gasket is like a dinosaur. It's been leaking. Anytime you do a cork gasket, they all have to be re-snugged. A cork gasket, in my opinion, is the best gasket to put on these. But you always go back and re-snug them with a speed handle. After I rebuild this, I snug it on the bench. I put it in. Before I put fluid in, I check it again. And then after I drive it, after the tranny warms up, I recheck it again because they will all be loose again. A cork gasket is just that way. But I'm telling you, once you get it snug, then that gasket will never leak.
But you always normally use a new one.
Oh, every time. Yeah, we don't ever
Exactly.
not. And then the TranStar kind of, I don't know why they did this, but like in this kit right here, so they went to that paper gasket. If you notice, I've already got a cork gasket out for it. We will not run that paper gasket. Unless it's an emergency, we will not run that paper gasket. But we've already got a lot of stuff come in, Z-Pack, wideband, and all the cool stuff. This was what I was worried about too. This harness is so old. You can see this clip's broke. It just falls out. This one here, it's broke there. That's broke. The lock right there is broke on that, so it don't even work. You can just slide it off and on.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't know if you guys ever know. This is something to note. See how it's thick here, thin here? This plug will not plug into this solenoid because it's opposite. If you look at the plugs, see, thin, thick, on opposite sides. So this one will not plug into there. But this here's your PWM solenoid here. But if you look down in here too, thick, thin, thick, thin. And of course, this has already had the lock broke off of it too. So basically, it don't matter if you put it, it's going to have a solenoid because the lock's broke here, it's broke off there, the lock's broke off here. This is actually broke. Look at it, smoked.
Oh, wow.
It had to have been hooked up. It had to have been hooked up and working though because it did not have a code for this. But you can definitely tell it's been hot.
Wow.
Because it would have a code for that. Of course, this has been put in upside down. These are not upside down, excuse me. The clips can be on the other side to unhook to pull this out. But I always put them in this way that if you ever have to change it, you can pop it out and change it. But if you put it in the other from the back side, then you can't get the solenoid out. Like you can't now because I can't get to the clip that goes in here. Because they put it in backwards. So you'd have to pull the valve body off to change that broken solenoid. Of course, we have our detent linkage here. Of course, you have to pull this solenoid here, the PWM solenoid, to get your lockup solenoid off. But this harness is about as old can be. All busted up. So sad that that he's having to go through this. Believe me, but this old harness is all rotted. That's why I wouldn't just try to find all the wrong things with this unit in the vehicle. I'd rather pull it out, take this dude apart, and go through it that way. That way I can correct everything instead of trying to do it above my head and everything else. So it's just want to, like I said, I like to check everybody's work. You can tell this has never been Scotch-Brighted. So if I put a new seal and stuff on here, it's going to squeak going down. It's going to go, It's not want to travel smoothly. And when it jumps like that, it gets funny shifting. Second gear shift would be all messed up. Now it looks like they could have put a shift kit in here. We got some added springs to the accumulator. But you definitely want to put a long neck accumulator piston, which this does have a long neck, where the plastic ones are really short. lot better stability, keeps the piston straight going up and down. We got all of our 10mm bolts here. You can see here we have these 3/8. We do have some 3/10s here that are longer than your normal 10s. And of course these 8s right here are a different length too. So first you have your little shorts, and then you have these. These are even different length than that, and they're a different length than that. So you got 3 different length bolts just in this area. 4 actually counting your pillow switches. So these are little micro switches right here. Computer fluid comes in and presses on them. Tells the computer what gear you're in. Now here's that solenoid I was talking about. See how the clip is in this way? So the only way to replace that is to pull the valve body off. Now there is going to be a valve and spring in here.
Pretty sure?
Yeah, it's in there, but I don't know if it's messed up or if it's even the right one. Normally they'll just fall out in your hand. Okay, that's what we got a problem here. This spring is actually broke. Because normally these springs would just fall out in my hand with this valve. They'll come out with the valve. So this is your 3/2 downshift. So there's no telling what's going on with that spring broke, the valve jammed up, and all that type of stuff. So we definitely got another problem there. Of course, we have our manual valve and our manual linkage right there. Now this is your 1/2 accumulator valve right here. In other words, your accumulator system is a dual stage for second gear. So it has to push this valve here to get fluid into here. But if we want to direct more fluid to the band and less fluid to the accumulator, we put a firmer spring in here, which will firm up second gear. Weaker spring directs fluid more to the accumulator, less to the band. So you have to remember that. And of course on lockup right here, we would always block this. We don't want a PWM in here at all. And of course nothing was done to this area here. Actually they put a valve in here, which we don't ever use them. It's an upgraded valve to have a good lockup to correct the bore wear a little bit, but still it's a PWM valve. It's got a pulse lockup on, and being this truck's towing a trailer, we don't want no PWM in there at all. So we'll go back with the factory valves in here, and then we'll block them and just make it an on and off system. Of course, you got your forward accumulator here. Of course, you got a valve and a spring right here, like that. And then of course you have your accumulator piston here, like that. Now they do make an aluminum piston to put in here. If you're going to run a race car or high pressure or something like that, you can change that out to an aluminum one. Of course you have the early model pressure control solenoid. You notice it plugs in from the back instead of from the side. This is a kind of a aftermarket bracket. I don't know what that's about. Never seen one before. But of course the shift kit always comes with this copper ball or brass ball right here for your second gear. And of course all the others are metal. That should have been thrown away a long time ago. Never should have even been put in a transmission. Of course, we have our separator plate here. We have VB for valve body gaskets. Then we have a CA right here for case gaskets. And you always want to look right here. This is how you can really tell, because we have one hole here, one hole here. The later versions has a dual hole right here. So it's easy to lay them up against each other and look in this area and see the difference in the gaskets. And of course, your plate is going to be different in this area too. Of course, we have our 4th gear accumulator here. Of course, you know, if you've been with my channel for a long time, we always block this right here, or our channel, huh, Teresa? So we always block this. We double stack it. We never beat a check ball into the case and ruin the case, but we do stack dual pistons and just block it completely off. If you noticed here, I talked about the check ball in the case. Now this is an add-on orifice right here that Sonex makes. You still have to use the check ball in the case and make sure it doesn't leak, but this here directs fluid a little bit different to the clutch and to the band, your 3rd gear clutch and to the band. So we do have a check ball in here in this orifice. If it's gone, that's fine. You don't have to put it back in. Of course, we're going to get the parking linkage off. We're going to grab the parking pawl. We're going to turn the output shaft, lock it in, move that out of the way. Now we can get to our bolt. You're going to have to do the exact same thing when you go back. If not, you'll cross thread that bolt right there. Okay, you notice here they did put a new seal in it, but it was not glued in, and also it does not have the seal retainer on it. We always glue the seal in, and we always glue the seal retainer on. Of course, our pump bolts, we always double seal them. Change the O-ring, put some more seal on it. You notice tranny fluid come out of that bolt hole. Tranny fluid's coming out of that bolt hole. These are all dry. You might get it over here by the cooler line, this one through here, but you always see fluid in these 2 bolt holes here. So you always need to double seal these bolts right here. We don't take a chance on anything. We don't want it to come back at all. Okay. Now this, it has a late model pump. It has no pump O-ring. It has physically a pump gasket on the outer edge. But this pump didn't move.
No.
Oh my gosh, what they do, beat it in the case. These pumps, when they're lined up properly, you should be able to drop them in, pull them out by hand. Just pop, 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 pop. There should not be any drag me trying to get this pump out unless they didn't have a band to line the 2 pumps up, pump halves up to get it perfect where it'll slide in there. Oh, man, I'm glad that come out. I was worried about that coming out of there. Okay. But like I said, you can see here there's no O-ring. But you want to make sure this is lined up. This is off. You can actually grab that lip right there. We have a couple different style bands that we use to line all these pumps up. You can look at it here. I'll show you. This will give you an idea of what we got going on. Get out of there. This is a 6L80, 6L90 pump alignment tool. This here's the later version for like your 4L80s and stuff like this. This version here, and then here's another version here. They make multiple ones. Now this will only do a 6L80, 6L90. It won't do anything else. So. But this pump is definitely off. You can see where it was sliding really hard. This thing ought to just fall in, fall out. No resistance at all. Now, I've talked about these boost valves before. Anytime you put an aftermarket boost valve in there, you better be careful because you're going to have more pressure than normal in these vehicles. But there is a limit to normal and more, okay? So, We do have a big old boost valve that was installed in this thing, unfortunately. And then on this one here, I would not put a big boost valve in these. Now this one you can get to. There's no speed sensor covering it up. Now if you notice, they were getting ready for the speed sensor in this unit. They don't have the hole, but they have the mounting surfaces for them. They got the little cutout for it and everything. So GM took a little bit of time to get their stuff together before they finally put that input speed sensor in there. Of course, you have your boost valve here, and look at this. Is what's funny, guys. People do, this is actually a mismatched kit. This is a stock boost valve. You can see the 4 rings here. But what they did was they used a shift kit pressure spring. Is what they did. Normally that orange springs would have a 500 boost valve here. But they used a factory boost valve and put heavy duty springs on it. So I've never done that, so there's no telling what could be going on. But you want to look at these boost valves. Get it out of there. The color, if these are, the bluing's gone on them, that means there's a lot of wear in here. That's an old boost valve. You want to get in here. I like to grab the end of it with some pliers and see if I can wobble it, take and wiggle it in the bore like that. And if you can, you definitely got major issues. It's hard to tell with your fingers, but bushing was replaced. The pump body looks good. Of course, we have our 13 vein pump rotor and stuff here. Could have been spaced a little bit. You can see here where it just wasn't going in, but barely even half. So we could actually space the torque converter back into the tranny, put 3 identical washers between the torque converter and the flywheel to space it back in the tranny. It does have a new bushing, but you can see, you know, I talk about motors, crankshaft setting low in motors, and now you know this could have been pump misalignment because it was hard to get out. But normally when you see a bushing that looks brand new on the bottom like this, never been touched, and then you come over here and it's wore out from here to here, what does that tell you? That the crankshaft is pushing down on the pump. It's not lined up perfect. But this could be also because he didn't have it lined up perfect because it was hard to get out. But let me tell you, I've seen this because of bad motors, wore out crankshaft bearings. Of course, we want to get our band strut out right here. That way we can pull that out. This goes right here. And then your servo comes in here and pushes on it like that. Now remember, this band is used twice for second, fourth. So you're going down the road, this band comes on for second, it comes off for third, your 3/4 clutch comes on, your 3/4 clutch stays on, your band comes back on for fourth. So second, third, fourth. And of course this is about the stockest band you can get. I don't think I've ever even seen, I haven't seen one of these bands in so long. And you can tell it's already wore here. See how it's pitted? This could have been a reline band. It could have been a used band. But it's a band that we would not use. This is our band that we're going to be putting back in here. Really aggressive material. A lot better shifting. Night and day for towing, racing applications. I've got some of these bands over there with that good lining, but they were shipped to me accidentally that I've had 4 years and I still won't use them. Not when you can put a good one in there right off the bat. Now this is a drawer divider that works really well for this, to check these drums for any type of warpage where your band runs. You can stick that on there and take a flashlight and try to look under there and see if you get any daylight. See that right there? That tells you right through there that drum's a little iffy. So we do have new drum sitting over there, brand new out of the box, that we'll be sticking in here. Especially when you get a wide band, that band's going to cover the whole entire drum. Look at that. This one, not very different. So, but like I said, we got a new drum over there ready for it. Of course, this is called a reverse drum, even though your overdrive and second gear band goes around it, because it physically got the reverse clutches in the drum. And them's got to be about the oldest clutches I've ever seen. They definitely ain't got 400 miles on them, they got 400,000. That clutch is different than that clutch too. Well, they're wore plumb out. Crazy. Like I say, you just never know what you get these days. Of course, we have our sealing rings here for our forward clutch, our 3/4 clutch, and our engine brake clutch. You can look here, look how purple that plate is right there. How purple that's already been. It makes you wonder if they put that in there like that. That don't even look right. Now if this clutch is burned up, I can see a reason for that plate to be burnt. Oh yeah, it's already smoking. Look at that. Of course, it's got a 6 clutch pack in it, which is not something that we would ever do anymore. We haven't put 6 clutches in our 4L60s or 700s in 20 years since they come out with the Z-Pack. They do have load springs that are still in good shape. Look at the ply plate. It's totally gone. Of course, you have your lube seal here. You do not want to leave out, because see your lube oil hole right here and your lube oil circuit hole here. This is what joins them. If you leave that out, your lube oil is going to fall out, and your back planetary system is going to melt to the ground. We have our engine brake clutch, which is about as used can be. And then of course our forward clutches, we got like 3 different kinds, it looks like. We got a brown kind, we got a aggressive green kind. So this is basically just one big patch job. And didn't do a good job at that. You got your forward sprag. You notice this spins this way, will not spin back. Look for any chattering or anything like here. If it looks good, you Scotch Brite it up. Starting to get a lot of wear with these washers run. Oh, that's this washer right here is starting to mess it up right through here, because that washer runs right there. So a lot of wear there. That's locked down. That one. This one here should spin too, but it's seized itself to it. It won't even turn. So basically that's the same thing as when I pulled off this other piece right here. But it's already welded itself to it, so that's no good.
Somebody just pulled up.
Okay. Get our snap ring out real quick. Well, that was the easiest one to get out. But anyway, we'll get down and see if anything else looks any better. Well, it doesn't, of course. Of course, we have 4 pinion planets, which is normal for this vehicle. But it is not normal to have this style thrush washer. Of course, you can see the thrush washer is no good. Already got a lot of metal going through it. Now we will update this to a roller bearing style, the late version, and get rid of this thrush washer. Now when they added tow haul to the shifter handle, they added a bearing here, because when you tow in 4th gear, it wipes this washer out. And when they put the bearing in there, they added the tow haul, which it makes it easier to tow. So, of course, all you have to do, you can buy the new hub and just take this snap ring out right here. Of course, if I can get it out. Nothing's easy, especially I use a different screwdriver and I don't have it here. But take that snap ring out, you can put another hub on there. Of course, we have a brush washer here, plastic, which is fine. But you want to look here and make sure he put a hardened shell in here. I can't tell. It doesn't look hardened, but I don't see any wear. course, we're going to get down in here and get our lower sprag assembly out. Make sure he put the snap ring in the right spot. Of course, they did put the anti-clunk spring back in there, which is good. We have our backing plate. We have our lower roller clutch. It's the same thing as a sprag and roller clutch. It spins this way, will not turn back. They do make two different thicknesses right here, so if you're changing this out, you want to make sure you get the right thickness. Of course, we have our low reverse clutch here, which looks used too. That is not a new clutch. Of course, we have our lower 4-pinion planet. You want to grab these, see if they wobble. If you got one that wobbles, you got to chunk it. Of course, you always want to check that bearing. This bearing down in here is real critical. Take your sun gear, push on it very hard, and turn it. You'll feel a bad bearing if that bearing's bad. There is no way to replace that bearing unless you knock a pin out. So, of course, the sun gear you want to look at, make sure it's not pitted, put a new bushing in there. If you notice here, you can tell this hub's used. You can see where the bushing's been running. That is an odd color. That's probably been hot. Of course, Sonex does make a wide bushing you can put in here too, give it some more support. Of course, you got your ring gear. You want to make sure it's not pitted on any side or any piece of metal stuck in here. I've seen pieces of metal stuck down in here, which you can actually see a tiny piece stuck right in there. See that right there?
Yeah.
So you want to, if you got a little piece of metal there, you want to try to find out where it comes from. Of course, you have your bearing here that sits in the bottom of the case, and of course your output shaft. I talked about that lube washer. That I don't have it laying out here to describe to show you. But from an early and a late output shaft, that hole right there, they moved it. So if you put the wrong lube washer on here, the hole can be down here on this surface and the lube washer will run on top of the hole. So you want to make sure you put the right lube washer with the right shaft. So pretty interesting. I think a lot of it is just, the tranny just physically wore out. The tranny has not been rebuilt. It's been thrown together. It's trash all the way through it. And when we get done, we'll make this unit really nice compared to what it was before. I don't even like seeing stuff like that, do you, Teresa?
Nope.
It's terrible. People pay good money for good work, and that's what they get, but they can't see what they're physically getting because it's on the inside. So, but anyway, I want to thank y'all for watching. But a good friend of mine named David, we call him the Lantern Man. He makes all kinds of beautiful lanterns. He hunts them down and redesigns them and paints them. He brought this in this morning for me. It's the Dirty Bird painted on two sides. Got my car inside. Got the Dirty Bird there. LED lighting. I mean, he makes some lanterns, guys. You would not believe the lanterns that this gentleman makes. I'm really excited for him to bring that to me and get to hang it up. He's a really good guy. I want to pray for David. He's got cancer and he's going through a lot of chemo right now. So we're trying to keep him up and keep him happy and stuff like that. Keep him excited and all the good stuff, huh, Teresa?
Exactly.
We want to thank Miss Teresa for recording. We want to thank Annie for hanging out. Go check out our merch store. It's not a whole lot, but it is something that does help us out a little bit. And we'll get this unit back in and get it going. And guys, I've got my work cut out for me. I've got two 400s that we're going to be putting ultra bells on, all billet shafts, all kinds of crazy stuff. So I'm really excited to get started on them too. So anyway, y'all have a blessed day, a great weekend, and the rest of the day.